Hello and welcome. In this video, I'll be introducing you to JavaScript arrays. What is an array? An array is basically a structure that allows you to store multiple values in one single reference. Basically, what that means is that it stores multiple values in a single variable. So an array is a special variable which can hold more than one value at a time, in comparison to a variable that can only hold one value at a time. An example of an array is this here. For example, you create an array called myData and you use the equals to assign the values. You can tell it's an array because the values of an array are enclosed in square brackets. Also, you can have different data types in an array. In this example here, I've got both number and string data type as values in an array. So let's create a simple array using our web console. To create an array, you have to create the variable first. So you just type in var to create or define the variable. You do a space followed by the name you want to call the variable. I'm going to call mine my data. You then use the equals to sign to create the array, and you use the opening square brackets and you add the values or the elements in the array. You can mix data types. In my example here, I'm going to mix the data type with a string and also a number. So I've got a number and a string. I'm going to add another number and then I'll add another string. When you are using string, don't forget to enclose them in quotes. And when you are using arrays, you separate each of the elements in the array by a comma. You can see I've got comma here and comma here. Only the last value or element that does not require a comma. So now that we've created an array, to call the array, we just need to call it by its name, which is myData, and it will display the information. The information here tells you that we've got an array of 4 elements, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, and it gives you the values. If I expand this, you will see all these figures here. They are known as index. The way you access the elements in an array is via their index. So the very first element or value has index 0. The next one will have index 1 and so on. You can see here index 0 belongs to 7. Index 1 belongs to John. Index 2 belongs to 17. Index 3 belongs to Jane, and so on. It tells you here the length of the array is 4 because it has 4 elements or values inside the array. So if I wanted to access Jane, the way I would do that would be myData and then square bracket, and I'll type in 3 because that's the index for Jane, and press enter, and see it's giving me the value of Jane because Jane has an index of 3, as you can see here from the index. So always remember that when you're trying to access the values in an array, you have to access them using their index, and the index starts from 0 upwards. When you work with arrays, it is easy to remove elements and also add new elements to an array using a process called popping and pushing. if you want to add element, you use a method called pushing to add an element, and if you want to remove, you use a method called popping. So popping will remove and pushing will add an element to an array. So let's add an element to our array, and the way we do that, we call the array by its name, which is, in my case, is called my data, and then you add a dot and type in push, and then in parentheses you specify the value you're trying to push into the array. So let's say I'm trying to add a number 10 into the array, and I'll press enter. So you can see now it's now showing that the array has 5 values. So if I want to call this array again, called my data, it will now show that the length is 5. You see, because I've now added a new element, which is this number 10 here. So if I expand that, you can see the index. We've got a new index for 4, which is number 10. If I wanted to remove an element from the array, okay, so I can do that using the pop method. The pop method will remove the value that I've just added. So let's remove the value I've just added. So I'll type in my data dot pop, and this will remove the very last value I have just added on. You can see here it tells me 10 has been removed. So if I now reference this array now, it should go back to the original value, which is an array of 4. You can see here this is the original length. So that's basically how you can add and remove an element from an array. So this concludes this brief introduction to JavaScript arrays. There are other types of arrays, and there are so many things you can do using JavaScript array. This is just an introduction to what an array is. Thank you for watching, and bye for now.